Welcome into the Sharpsports YouTube podcast. My name is Andrew Sharp, coming to you live from Albuquerque, New Mexico, as I'm here visiting family, but wanted to get some reaction to the Denver Broncos suffering a loss yesterday at home to break their 11-game win streak against the Jacksonville Jaguars, a game in which the Broncos were actually not playing their best and yet still were competitive with the Jacksonville Jaguars, but unfortunately take a loss at home against a team, frankly, that came in hungry to Denver, was determined to play well, and play well they did. Certainly the Denver weather also did not give the Broncos any sort of real advantage playing a team in Florida. You would have thought originally Jacksonville coming to Denver in December might pose some problems, cold weather problems for a warm weather team like Jacksonville, but it was quite nice in Denver on Sunday afternoon, as it's been incredibly mild for December all across the western United States at the moment. And I wanted to go to really, I felt like the game, even though the Broncos had not played efficiently and quite their best for the game, in the third quarter, game was 17-all. Broncos went in on a 7-play, 53-yard drive that took up about 2 minutes, where Bo Nix actually did take a sack in that drive, and yet the Broncos managed to go down the field. And R.J. Harvey had arguably his best run of the day to make it 17-all. Unfortunately, after that play, in which tied up the game after the Broncos were trailing at halftime, the Jags went on a 13-play, 49-yard drive to take a 24-17 lead. Another drive for the Jags, 5 plays, 80 yards, 2:07 off the clock, and a 31-17 lead. Jags scored again after a Bo Nix basically had a fumble on he was trying to do basically a read option play, another turnover. All of a sudden, the Jags are up 34-17, and the game is effectively over. So, unfortunately for the Broncos, it was just a case of also of their defense really not playing well. There was some audio later on in the postgame of Nick Bonito asking about his play, in which he described it. You can find it online, but he described his play as less than stellar, put it that way. And so the Broncos really were able to sack Trevor Lawrence and were keeping him at bay a decent amount in the first half, even though they were trailing. Second half, Trevor Lawrence was absolutely really what the Jags need him to be for them to be a true contender, which is for Trevor Lawrence to play a lot more like that. And unfortunately for the Broncos, I was looking again, Nick Bonito ended up with 0 tackles. He had 2 assisted tackles, 0 tackles, and 0 sacks for Nick Bonito. Jonathan Cooper, 1 tackle, 0 sacks. Pat Surtain was okay that day, but it was a bit of a rough day for my Riley Moss, as really the Jacksonville Jaguars continued to move the ball up and down the field. Washington ended up with 6 receptions, 145 yards, and a touchdown. Jacoby Myers had a pretty good game for the Jags. Lawrence himself ended up finishing 23 of 36, 279. Took 5 sacks, 3 of those in the first half, though, but also had 3 touchdowns and played much, much better in the second half. So, unfortunately for the Broncos, some of the rushing statistics actually look pretty good. Final numbers, 17 carries as a total group for 101 yards, but Mr. Bo Nix dropped back 47 times to pass, which is not a formula for this team to win. It has not been a formula for this team to win all year. Bo Nix should not be dropping back 47 times. Quite frankly, a lot of NFL teams are not really structured to have anyone drop back 47 times in any football game. And yes, I understand the Broncos were trailing at the end of the game in the third quarter after they couldn't get off the field on third down, and the Jacksonville Jaguars, quite frankly, played better than them for certainly in the second half and a majority of the game. The Jags just played better football, more efficient, more explosive plays, and were able to really score and move the ball on a Denver defense that, quite frankly, needs to be elite for this team to go where they would like to go. Unfortunately for the Broncos as well, didn't really get a whole lot of home crowd bounce, even though it was obviously all orange and blue. But that third quarter really kind of changed the game for the Denver Broncos, and the fact that they really, once they had given up, the defense had given up those types of drives, it was very difficult for the offense to respond. Jacksonville has a good front seven. Jacksonville really, quite frankly, needed this game probably worse than the Broncos, and it showed on the field. In saying all of that, eventually the Denver Broncos were not going to win and quote Michael Wilbon, they were never going to run the table, at least not in my opinion. I didn't think that it would be possible for them to win out the remainder of their games. I was actually thinking there was a decent chance that they might lose the Green Bay game. I picked the Denver Broncos to win against the Jacksonville Jaguars only because I figured that the Jags were coming in at a severe disadvantage in terms of the weather and Denver's momentum and home field. However, I was incorrect. So the Denver Broncos have a loss. It's not the end of the world. All the things that they want to do for this season are still right in front of them. And they can't be too worried about this loss too much longer, because the Broncos still have the Kansas City Chiefs on Christmas Day, and they still have to play the LA Chargers to finish out the season. So 2 AFC divisional games. Granted, yes, the Jacksonville loss is an AFC loss, but the division games are what truly matter. Denver Broncos still have a chance to wrap up the AFC West. I hope that they use the short bit of time to watch the film, grind on this loss for the next few days, and be ready to go to play the Kansas City Chiefs on Christmas evening on Netflix. Because everything is right in front of them. Everything is right in front of them still. Yes, it was a bad loss. Teams, I've looked back, even the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl around this time. Yep, in Week 15, Kansas City Chiefs, Monday night, lost inexplicably to the Las Vegas Raiders. Then went on to go ahead and win against the Bengals and the Chargers, and then went ahead and took care of everyone else on their way to winning the Super Bowl 2 years ago. Had an inexplicable loss to a terrible Raiders team. I went back and looked. Philadelphia Eagles had an inexplicable loss, kind of at this point of the season, to a division rival and the Washington Commanders. On their way to the Super Bowl, met them again in the playoffs, had no problem. So these losses, these are long seasons. These losses happen. It was just another, really, for the sign for the Denver Broncos. They are a good up-and-coming team, but if they do not play their best, if they do not bring their A game, if they do not prepare for every opponent, they will be beat. They can be beat. This is the NFL, and that's okay. I'm sure we'll refocus the Broncos, and it also gives the Broncos a tremendous opportunity to beat a division rival. And unfortunately for the Chiefs, and luckily for the Broncos, the Chiefs are in total QB chaos, as a week before they had lost Patrick Mahomes to a season-ending knee injury, and unfortunately his capable backup, Gardner Minshew, who I'm not a fan of as a backup, who has not played well against the Broncos, and as a member of the Vegas Raiders, before that. Gardner Minshew has now gone down with the rest of the season with a major injury, and this now leaves Kansas City with Chris Oladukan playing for their loss against the Tennessee Titans this last Sunday. So the 28-year-old, I'm reading now from the fan, the 28-year-old had never thrown a pass in the NFL before being thrust into action on Sunday, and he'll likely start against the Broncos on Christmas on a short week. So this quarterback threw 16 times, completed 11 of those for 111 yards in the blowout loss for the Chiefs against the Titans. So the Chiefs have packed it in. The Chiefs know that their season not only is done, but that they're going to have significant issues moving forward as Patrick Mahomes unfortunately has to rehab from a devastating injury. Chiefs are 6-9, but their season is over. So Denver Broncos, take care of business. Move on to the next game. Take care of business. Go to Kansas City. Get a key divisional win against a Chiefs team that not only is not playing for anything, but unfortunately is playing guys at quarterback that you have to be a pretty big fan of the league to even know who that is. So figure out what you did wrong in the Jacksonville game. I would also suggest find some sort of balance, whether that's a quick screen game, using more Jaleel McLaughlin. But let's go back to some run-pass balance. The defense needs to flex its muscles on a Kansas City team that is lacking really any sort of threat at starting quarterback. And really, you just want to get the bad. The bad news is the Broncos had a bad loss at home. The good news is they're playing a very weakened, deflated opponent on a short week, and they can get right back to their winning ways. Go ahead, take care of business in Kansas City, and all of a sudden, you get a nice little Christmas present on Christmas evening, getting a divisional win against the Kansas Chiefs, wrapping up, or certainly moving one step closer to wrapping up a division title for the first time in 10 years, and continuing this season that is not lost. It's one bad loss at home to Jacksonville. Don't overreact. Don't overreact. Are losses good? Sometimes, because this is not college sports. These are all professional athletes playing for their next contract, and Jacksonville came in more hungry than you, and just frankly more executed. So Denver Broncos, little pep talk for you. Don't feel bad about this loss. Put this loss away. It wasn't. Yes, people will say it was a horrible performance. No, it wasn't a horrible performance. At one point in the third quarter, you were tied, despite all that. And then unfortunately, your defense let you down, which is supposed to be the strength of the team. I'm also not going to overreact and say that the defense is failing down the stretch. It was one game against a more than capable quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. So get prepared. Get your treatment. Get your rehab. Buckle up. Go beat the Chiefs in Kansas City on their third or maybe fourth string quarterback. Collect your AFC divisional win, and all of a sudden this Jacksonville loss will not seem as bad, because currently the Denver Broncos are still, due to tiebreakers, the number one seed in the AFC. Once again, my name is Andrew Sharp, Sharpsports YouTube, coming at you live from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I'll be back maybe do another late live after the Broncos hopefully win in Kansas City on Christmas, and do a little live stream there. And I'll be posting content pretty much all week as I am here in New Mexico with lots of time to talk to you. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.